And if you go to Juma, where Sydney and Tristan, there are a lot of thickets there. So it's quite different, that area and where we are. The big habitat here is what we call the savannah, and savannah is the open grassland like this. And one big luck we have here, unlike Juma, we can see animals from a long distance. Not sure if Bungei could be able to spot some elephants. They're quite far, but Bungei, my camera operator, sometimes is magic. He can try and pan. It's a long way, but I'm seeing some elephants that I think we can quickly have a look and see whether we can see them or not. But I'm sure we're going to see others and maybe much closer. How does that feel, boys and girls, having seen buffaloes before? Excellent. They are a long way from where we are, but we got some wonderful and very strong cameras. So what would happen is, because it's quite warm, so those elephants are just feeding and feeding. And if you look at their ears, they're flapping their ears because it is quite warm. And when it cools off, they're not going to flap their ears as much. Isn't that wonderful, boys and girls? So keep watching. And sometimes you'll get other animals in those bushes. They could be either some cats of some sort. And leopards love to be in such trees. You see there's a small little baby elephant there? How lovely is that? So you see the bit shimmering because it's warm, as I said earlier. And that's why they're near the bush there. Dina, you see what a beautiful view. Very true. It is so beautiful, Dina, that you look at the grass in the foreground and the elephants there and the trees, and in the background there's an escarpment that is so beautiful, and that escarpment is called the Olololo. So Dina, on top of that escarpment, that is where we live. Will you believe it? And that's the best place for us to live in. There's a camp at the very top there, and that's where our camp is. And there's another lodge there that's called Angama Lodge. And boys and girls, I got some surprise for you because Tristan have the biggest surprise for you on this new year.
Indeed, we have. We haven't just found the big storm that is starting to come in. We found exactly what we were looking for. So there's our spotty leopard. He's having a very good nap. He wasn't where we left him this morning. We had to kind of follow his footprints a little bit. They luckily walked along the road for quite a long way, and then we managed to spot him sleeping under this little bush. And you can see he's very, very tired, and he's probably hot. It's a warm day here in South Africa, and if you're covered in fur, it's not very nice. It makes it very difficult to be able to kind of cool down, and so you'll find that his belly is moving quite a lot. Do you see that? He's kind of breathing quite quickly, and so cats, when they are very, very hot, their rate of breathing increases quite dramatically, and so it goes a lot faster, and the reason for that is how they cool themselves down. They have an ability, basically, when they breathe quite quickly, particularly if their mouth is open, they have saliva or the moisture in their mouth, and as they breathe that hot air, it causes evaporation. Now, evaporation is when a liquid turns into a gas, and that causes cooling, and it cools the blood that's actually in the tongue and the mouth and sends the cooler blood back to the body. And so it acts a little bit like a radiator of a car. It just keeps these these cats' internal temperatures down, and so that's why he's breathing quite fast. And what we will find with him is that he's going to sleep like this, and he's going to sit, and he's going to probably rest for a little bit. But as this cloud cover of the storm is starting to come over, so it's cooling down quite a bit. It's already much cooler than when we started out, and that might mean that he's going to get up and start moving. He does look quite hungry, and so maybe he's going to go look for some food. Now, the good news, hot spots, yes, indeed. I think he's probably quite thankful for the fact that there isn't as much sunshine as what there was about half an hour ago. Half an hour ago, it was seriously warm. The sun was searing us, and it felt like we were being burnt. And now this cloud cover has come over, and if we start to hear little bits of rumbling of thunder and things like that, it's always good for a leopard, because a leopard knows that if rain is around and there's darkness and noise of rain, it's always easier for them to hunt. Sharon, no, he wouldn't have been sawing now or during the course of today. Leopards typically saw around sort of sunrise, sunset, and then through the night as they are marking territory. And remember this morning when we saw him, he was hunting. He wasn't marking territory. And so he won't soar when he hunts, because otherwise that advertises his presence, and it makes it very, very kind of easy for the prey animals to know that he's there, and that's not going to work very well, unfortunately for him. It's going to make life, very difficult to find food, and so he'll keep quiet and he'll kind of keep his sound to himself, and he'll sneak around while he's hunting. I wouldn't be surprised though that tonight we hear him sawing when he wakes up, when he decides that he's going to start going on his kind of evening movement, that he will start to saw around sort of sunset. That's typically when we see these guys doing it. And I have to laugh at this cat where you can see he's kind of lying down now and doesn't really care too much about us at all. But when we first found him, he was trying to hide. So he had his head up, but he was kind of tucked down with his ears flat, and he was trying to hide behind that little bit of grass that is there. But unfortunately his body is too big and his tail was sticking up, and so we spotted him quite easily in the end. But he's a beautiful, beautiful cat, and we haven't seen him for quite some time. Well, I haven't seen him for quite some time. The last time I saw him was in April of 2018. So, I mean, it's a good 9 months ago. And he's been hanging around mostly further west, away from our traverse area, and that means that it's been very tricky to kind of find him. And so I'm really glad that he's come back. He's a good looking fella, and he's got beautiful eyes, and so I'm hoping that he'll spend a good afternoon with us. And yes, Emma, he is having good dreams. I'm pretty sure he's thoroughly enjoying having a nice nap. He was a busy boy last night, because where he came from last night was very far to the west. He must have walked easily, I would say, 10 to 15 miles last night to get to this point. And so that, coupled with a hot day, means that he's going to be very, very sleepy and dreamy. And as Emma was saying to me in my ear, he's probably dreaming of a little bacon sandwich, a warthog bacon sandwich is probably what he would like. And maybe later this evening he might get lucky at some point. But for now, he's just going to rest and take it easy. Good. We're going to sit with him for the remainder of the afternoon, because I'm sure he is going to wake up as it gets a bit cooler. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you across to Sydney, who seems to have had a bit of success of his own.
I am now using one of the methods in order to find animals, which is called trekking. Trekking is part of track and science. Here, I am looking for all the signs on the ground to see who was here before me. Normally, this is how I find animals in the bush. The lions I'm looking for, if I pick up their tracks here, I am going to keep following their tracks until we find an animal. So far, it's very much difficult to see the tracks because of the time of the day. Check, the lion tracks, they are easy to identify, but lions themselves are very much difficult to find, because here on the ground you will see the tracks, and I've got to judge how old is the track, and I must also check the direction of the tracks. Sometimes these lions, when they are walking around here, they walk in between the bushes and come back to the road. So when they are going in the bushes is when it becomes difficult for me to see. But by this time of the day, trekking is not easy. It's quite very much difficult, because when the sun is bright, it's not easy to see the tracks. That is quite a very lovely question. Is it easier to trek when it's dry, or is it easier to trek when it's wet? When it's dry, it must have to be dry, but the ground still has to have soil particles which are fine, so that when the animal is walking, it can develop the sign on the ground. If it's dry and the soil is washed away, it's difficult, because then I cannot be able to see the markings. When it's wet, it's easy to identify the tracks, but it's difficult to track an animal. Why? Because of the following. You are going to be confused, because the moisturized part of the soil, where the animal has gone past, it stays much longer. The track for this morning on a wet area is still going to look fresh until now. And tomorrow morning, if that area is still fresh, you are still going to see it as if the animal has just gone past now. So that is what the wet area brings as a confusion during the trekking activities. Gary, despite the size, if you look at the track itself, you will see that the tracks have got some kind of lobes. And these lobes, the drawings of the lobes on the ground for a leopard, they are different from the lions. Arrangement of the toes, the leopard toes are much more round. And the lion tropes, you will see some are much more oval. And yes, despite the size, those are the things helping me in order to identify between the two. And they even got similarities. There's similarities on these tracks and there's differences. I will be very much happy to show you the similarities if I find any of those tracks here on the ground so that we can easily see that. So I'm just trying to check here on the ground, and so far I am not seeing anything. But if I see any of these tracks, I can promise you we are going to discuss all these other things while we are seeing the track itself. Lions are very much interesting animals, and I can promise you I don't get bored of seeing the lions every day. They are just beautiful, and they don't do the same thing every day. Today they will be drinking, tomorrow they are sleeping, after that they are walking. You know, it's always interesting. So now let's quickly cross over to Tristan with a beautiful cat.
Well, good luck, Sydney. Hopefully you'll be able to find those lions and track them down and be able to see them. We saw them this morning, and I'm hoping that they haven't moved too far. Much like this leopard, it's because it's been hot. The big cats don't like to move very much in the heat. It's just one of those things, especially at this time of the year. They tend to find a little bit of shade, and then they lie down and they rest and they wait until the afternoon. But the good news is that there is some thunder in the distance, and so that's kind of triggering of thunder and this cloud cover that is coming over is going to be good for our cats to be a little bit more active. You see that bright blue sky? That was over us the whole part of the day, and the sun was really very bright. But as soon as you get rain coming in like that, it should trigger a little bit of movement. There's also a bit of a breeze that's starting to pick up now, which is good. The wind will be a little bit cooler, and that will kind of trigger the animals to start waking up a little bit earlier than they probably would have had the sun stayed out for much longer. So I'm glad that it's also shady, because otherwise we would be in the sun and we'd be getting absolutely baked by now, which would have not been very pleasant. David and I were saying this morning that we were going to get, or this afternoon, that we were going to get abused by the sun, but luckily all is okay. And put our sun cream on, and then now the clouds have come, so it's been avoided crisis. So Jeff, is Hosana safe with Hukumuri around? So those of you that don't know who all these kind of leopards are, so Jeff, the thing is that Hosana is, well, he's a young male leopard essentially that is still growing and still finding his feet as an adult individual. So he's only kind of approaching sort of 3 years old now, whereas Hukumuri is a much older male. He's traveled a long distance and is far more experienced. So the problem with Hosana that he has is that Hukumuri is a lot more sort of has a lot more street smarts, or is a lot kind of more experienced with dealing with other leopards, and that's where Hosana isn't. And so Hosana has had a very different upbringing, because his kind of father figure in terms of Tingana, which is the dominant male leopard, he hasn't really kind of chased Hosana away and has kind of treated him with quite a bit of respect, whereas Hukumuri wouldn't really be like that. He's obviously going to be a little bit more aggressive, and we have seen Hosana and Hukumuri kind of interact before and see one another, and it's always led to Hukumuri chasing Hosana and Hosana running away and kind of leaving the area. So there is an element of risk there, but as time is going on, Hosana is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's starting to really kind of get to a very similar size to what Hukumuri is. Now, whether that's a good thing, I'm not quite sure, and I'll tell you why. Because when he gets bigger, he's going to start to feel more confident, and Hukamuri is going to start seeing him as more and more of a threat rather than just a young male that he can chase and then leave him alone. If he thinks Hosana is really competition, they might actually try and he might try and kind of fight with Hosana, and that's not going to be ideal. So there's always an element of risk when Hukamuri is around. The thing is, we don't even know where Hosana is at the moment. We haven't seen Hosana in the last 4 days, and we're not sure which way he's kind of gone. We think that he's still somewhere around kind of the central parts of Djuma, which is quite far from where we are now. And I think he's on a kill somewhere, because if you haven't seen him in 4 days kind of moving around, then he's got to have gotten himself a meal. And so, the distance at the moment is quite far, but it's going to be interesting to see where Hukamuri moves during the course of the night, particularly because Tingana, the dominant male, is also in the area at the moment. He's also kind of in the central part of Djuma, and no doubt both of these leopards are going to make a noise at some point during the night, and that's going to attract the attention of one another, and it's going to be then interesting to see who moves where, and the chess game will begin this evening when it comes to the two big dominant males, and then obviously Hosana in amongst them. Are you dreaming, boy? You can see he's kind of moving his head a little bit. Often these cats, when they're having a really good nap, sometimes get a bit kind of into a deep sleep, and they start to dream a little bit, and you see paws twitching and moving, and even their heads that will kind of move a little bit as well. So it seems like he's having a good dream. And Emma, who's the director in my ear that gives me all the questions, she's saying to me that he's dreaming about eating his sandwich. Well, his way he was moving his head, it seems like he was indeed dreaming like that. But still a very sleepy cat at this stage. I think he's going to wait for it to get a little cooler before he decides to actually move and decides to kind of go anywhere. Good. We'll sit here, like I say, we'll be patient. I'm sure he is going to lift his head at some point and we can see his beautiful eyes. In the meantime, back to Sydney to see how he's progressing with his tracking.
I am still in the middle of trekking here, and I've just realized that I've got my trekking book with, and the question you asked about the difference between the leopard as well as the lion trek, here we are going to do it much easier. So if you look here, this is a leopard. This is a lion and this is a leopard. So let's look at the arrangement of these tracks. Can you see that this is much more round and this is more like oval? So this is how you can distinguish. This is the leopard and this is the lion. You can see that the toes of the leopard are much more round and beautiful on the ground more than the lions. You see, the lions on the ground, the track doesn't look beautiful as the leopard. Look at this leopard. This is quite a beautiful track. And if you look here on the edges, you can see that the lobes of the leopards, the lobes of the leopards here, they are much more clear. And the lobes of the lions, here you can't see that is clear. But on the ground, they can also be very clear if there is deep sand. If there is deep soil particles, you will see that this is much clearer. So it also depends on the surface where the animals are walking. That will determine the sign on the ground. But now you can see the toes are all completely different. This one, some of them look like bananas. So I've got a banana here. Let me show you why I'm saying this has got bananas. If you look at this a banana, you look at the shape of the banana, you can see that some of these toes here, they look like a banana shape. You see? So here is much more round. So now we are going to carry on and see if we can find something interesting again. Now let's quickly cross over the Masai Mara where David has got some elephants.
I'm not sure what Sydney is showing you, boys and girls. I do not know what he's doing there, but I think it's better for you to watch elephants. What do you think? We saw elephants earlier, which were quite a distance, and I have found another group, and a group of elephants is called a herd, and it is much closer to the road than the first ones we saw, albeit them looking in a different direction, and you can see they are giving us not their faces, which I'd be happy if it could be possible for them to turn their heads around. But animals, being animals, wild animals are wild animals, they'll always do what they want. Now, if you look at them carefully, they all seem to have tusks. I'm sure you have heard of some part of the world called Asia. Now, the elephants in Asia are a bit different from the elephants that we got here in Africa, because those ones in Asia, the females or the girls, do not have the tusks. But those ones, or these ones in Africa, both males and females got tusks. As much as you see that one particular one does not have tusks. Once in a while, that could happen, and that is not very normal. And either it was born without tusks, or maybe she lost them as she was growing. But ideally, both boys and girls, or both males and females of the African elephants, got those white tusks. Now, they use those tusks for so many reasons. If they want to dig something on the ground, that's what they use. And if they want to break a tree or bring some branches down, they use the same tusks. So sometimes if you look at those tusks carefully, you'll see they're a bit worn out because they keep rubbing them, they keep wearing them. And those tusks are modified teeth. Like all of you, I'm sure you can touch your teeth in the front, or what you call incisors. So those teeth are like incisors. They're modified teeth for the elephants, and they use them either to dig. Sometimes the males will use them to fight, which is not a good thing, but in general the females do not use the tusks to fight. Now, elephants are herbivores, and herbivores mean elephants eat anything green, from grass, leaves, twigs, branches. Sometimes they dig some roots, some tubers are under the ground. That's all what they eat. Now, boys, remember, and girls, we had a plan when we started that you'll be sending us questions. Brittany, you are saying, why do some animals go extinct? There'll only be one reason. If an animal, for example, does not have a home, what we'd call a habitat is where an animal lives, eats, drinks, and sleeps there. There's a possibility an animal would go extinct because it doesn't have a home. And more often than not, it's we human beings that will do that. So we take their habitat or we take their land. And of course, if an animal doesn't have something to eat or to drink or a place to live, then ideally that animal goes extinct. So that's how some animals disappear. I'm sure you have heard someone saying as dead as a dodo. So dodos were types of birds that used to be there and not there anymore. So that would happen. Or if those animals would get an infection and the whole species or the whole type of those animals would die, or birds, without maybe either of them recovering to be able to reproduce. If they do not, or if they're not able to have more babies, then unfortunately all those animals will become extinct. Now we've got another elephant here that also doesn't have tusks. So once in a while you see one or two without tusks, but in general they should have both boys and girls, or both males and females. Remember, as we said, questions, comments, nudge your kids at wildearth.tv, emails, request your parents or guardians to keep us sending us those questions. We are very happy when we interact with kids, especially on a Detective Saturday, and see how beautiful the Mara Triangle looks like in Kenya. I was telling you earlier the difference between the Mara and Juma. The area here is so huge, and we can see the Ellies from sometimes even 3 kilometers away, because I'm sure you know they are the largest animals that we got in the world. I'm saying largest animal that live on land, because I'm sure you know when you go to the ocean or to the sea, we got other animals like whales which are big, but on land, these are the largest animals, and they always go in groups. And you remember I told you a group of elephants is called a herd, and more often than not you'll see cows, or what you call females, or the girls, with the young ones. The boys in general do not live with the girls, they are always away. Very good. Now boys and girls, I think I'll take you back to South Africa because I need to move and maybe look for something better and good than the elephants here, because Hosana, or Tristan rather, have Hosana and maybe something else.
Indeed, we are still with Hukumuri, and I was hoping that he would be a little bit more active like David's elephants and maybe start moving his bottom. But at this stage, his bottom is as still as ever. Even his tail has not twitched or moved since we have been here. He is in full-on sleep mode, but you might hear the thunder rumbling in the background. Hopefully he's going to hear that too, and it's going to trigger him to start moving and to start thinking about going to find something to eat, and that will actually get him kind of getting up and going. Now, I was going to show you a very beautiful bird just now, but it flew away, unfortunately, which is very, very bad. I was hoping it was going to stay. It was making a nice call and was sitting very nicely out in the open. And as birds do, they tend to fly away very quickly. Whenever they get a camera on them, it's like they know. They're like little samurais. Lisa, yes, very easy to tell the difference between leopards and cheetahs. So basically with a leopard, if you have a look at this animal, it's got a very big, strong set of front legs with big shoulders, big, heavy, thick neck, and it's got on its body what's called rosettes. Now, rosettes are spots that have almost look like they've exploded with a little caramel center. They almost remind me a little bit of popcorn, except black popcorn, basically. And so they even though they're called spotted, they actually have what's called rosettes. They also see now on his neck, he's got a kind of line that runs on his neck there, or spots that all come together. That's known as a bib, which you don't very often see on a cheetah at all. And these guys, like I say, are much more powerfully built, bigger, stronger animals than what you see, or heavier, stronger, should I say, than what you see from a cheetah. A cheetah can actually be a much taller creature and a much longer creature. Are you going to roll over for us? Oh, he's stretching. It's a good sign. When he starts to stretch and yawn, this might mean that he's going to start thinking about waking up and starting to move. Right. Now, on the cheetah, on the other hand, well, it is built for speed, and it doesn't look like that at all. It's got a very different kind of way about it. It has very big spots on it, and I'm going to try and get you a picture so I can show you what a cheetah looks like. If you just give me 2 seconds. So, here we go. I found one already, David. Let's use, I'm just trying to think what's going to be a good one. All right, that's a good one to use. So there is a cheetah. Now you can see with the cheetah, unlike the leopard, it's got solid spots. So it's got these kind of big solid spots on it, and then you see on its face, it's got these kind of tear marks, these little black tear marks, very small round head, long legs, and a much longer tail that's kind of flatter at the end. Now, a leopard's tail is not as long as that, and it doesn't have that kind of flattened appearance. And the reason why a cheetah's tail is much more flattened is because it acts like a little rudder. Cheetah run very, very fast, and so they use that tail just to balance them and allow them to be able to kind of stay upright when they're running at such crazy speeds and chasing these animals that turn very fast. And so that's why a cheetah will have that tail, and obviously the long legs and the very much more slender build or thin build is to be able to then kind of keep the speed up and to be able to catch things. So very, very different animals. They live in different areas because of their kind of way that they go about hunting. So even though they both occur in this particular park, you'll find the cheetahs like to hang around in more open sections where they can use their speed, whereas you'll find these guys like thicker, denser areas where they can use their camouflage and their power to surprise an animal and grab it and then wrestle it down to the ground. So very different kind of ways that they go about it, and so very easy to tell the difference between the two. Often people do get confused, but the spots are the very easy way. Kelsex, thank you. You say what a lovely picture reference. Yes, I quite like that picture. It was taken recently when I was in Kenya. It was of Kenya, actually, the cheetah, and it was running in a rainstorm. It was a very cool picture. I'll post it at some point on my Twitter or something, I don't know, and you guys can actually see it properly, but it's nice. I like that picture as well. It's a very cool picture. Poor Kikenya was trying to run away from the rain, and so maybe we might see that with Hukumuri today as he tries to maybe get away from the rain at some point. The cats don't like the rain at all. They'll often find that they'll kind of just try and trot and try and get into a bit of cover if the rain really starts to come down. Now, talking about rain, I actually just felt a drop. Did you feel a drop, David? David, I felt a drop, which is not good news. Now, it's not a big drop, but it is a drop, and water is not really our friend when we have when we don't have our rain roof on, and so hopefully it's going to go away and not rain on us. Now, Emma is asking if we're sure something didn't pee on us. Well, Emma, I'm quite sure, given that above me is no tree whatsoever, and I don't see any birds kind of flying over, and also birds don't pee. They defecate and pee in the same thing, and so it's a big kind of blodge of paste that hits you rather than liquid. So it is not a bird that has deposited some sort of moisture on my hand. It is unfortunately H2O, which is water out of a cloud, that is going to kind of hit me, but it's not a lot at the moment. It's just a little kind of drop. I think it's just on the fringe. We're right on the edge of the storm. I think it's going to hopefully move across towards the sort of western side of this area. But you can hear a little thunder rolling in the distance, and so while we kind of figure out whether or not we're going to get some rain and thunder and lightning, let's send you back across to David in the Mara and see what he's managed to find now.
As I told you, things will start going from good to better, and maybe at one point they'll be best by the time we finish the show. And we've got now the tallest animal in the world. We had the largest animal on land, the elephants, a few minutes ago, but now we have found ourselves the tallest animal in the world, and that is a giraffe. And see how majestic he is. And I'm saying the he because of his size. In general, you get males being a lot bigger in size than females, and that's why I'm saying he is a boy. And once in a while you'll see them walking on their own, but girls will always be in company of other girls or with youngsters with themselves. Now, giraffes, just like the elephants, are also herbivores, but there's something very unique about giraffes, because as much as they are herbivores, they are very selective on what they eat. They just don't eat like grass and leaves and twigs, just like the elephants. Giraffes always tend to prefer leaves only. So giraffes, we call them browsers, because when you browse, you're always eating on top of the leaves, and that's why you can see him eating on top of that bush. Then he'll eat and then stop and look around just to make sure he is safe and there's nobody who is coming towards him. I'm talking of maybe lions. And yes, that's very beautiful giraffe. Wonderful light around him. What do you think, boys and girls? And in the background there, if you look carefully, there are animals way back there which looks like zebras to me, and there are other animals that will hunt giraffes, for example, like lions, but in general they prefer to hunt the young giraffes, not the fully grown ones. But if you get a big group of, say, lions, what you call a pride of, say, maybe 10 or 15, they are capable of hunting a fully grown giraffe. These are the tallest animals, as I said earlier, and also the males are much taller than the females. Some of the giraffes or some of the males are almost 6 meters in height, 17, 18 feet, but the girls are slightly bit shorter, about 15 feet in height or on height. And they've got the longest necks of all the animals that you'd think of. Isn't that beautiful to see a tall animal? I'm sure most of you kids could walk just under that giraffe, and there's a car that just passed there, and I'm sure they must have seen the giraffe or missed it, but I wouldn't imagine anybody would miss such a big and beautiful animal like the giraffe. So this particular type of giraffe is called the Maasai giraffe. And what would happen is giraffes may hide if they feel concerned. But now, if you noticed, or when I was talking about earlier, he would be eating and then stop and look. But should he feel a bit uncomfortable, he is going to move to the thickets where he can blend in with the big trees and hide. You see what he's doing now? He eats, he stops, and he walks away. But as he is walking, he's also looking to make sure he is safe and nobody is following him, because he could be hunted by either lions or sometimes hyenas. You see how he is looking? It's just to make sure that there's no predator. Predators are animals that eat other animals. The lion heart, what's the lifespan of the giraffe? Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to check the lifespan of a giraffe because I have it on my notes. We shall have lots of these animals somewhere. And I'll be telling you about the speed. When giraffes run, they're very fast animals, and you can see them doing about 60 kilometers per hour when they run. And should be about 18 years. Let me just try and remember, about 18 years. But I just want to confirm to you 100% and tell you from the notes I made when I was in school, we have giraffes to look at, other antelopes to look at, lions to look at. So I'm going to let you know what is the average lifespan of a giraffe, because I'm sure I have it somewhere. We'll always keep notes when you go to school. And I have the giraffes here. What's the giraffe saying? I'm guessing first 18, but let's be 100% sure without making any mistakes. All right, where's the giraffe? The giraffe, I said 18, and from what I see here, it is saying, what's the gestation period, Latin name, and age of independence. So, what's the lifespan? I still cannot see it here. I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm going to get it in a minute. Okay, age of independence. Longevity, 25 years, that's what it's saying. So I was less by 7. Giraffes will live for about 25 years. Well, that's not a bad life to live, 25 years. And as I was telling you before, we got different types of giraffes. In Africa, we got this that's called the Maasai giraffe. And the major difference between all those 4 types of giraffes or species of giraffe is just the body pattern. Everything else, longevity, gestation period, what they eat, how they behave, it basically remains the same. It's just those body patterns are different. One of the most beautiful ones to see is called the reticulated giraffe that looks like a fishing net, which you see north of the country. Hello, giraffe. What did you see there? Very good. Well, as you remember, boys and girls, I promised you we'll be looking for lions because I need to get them. I'll take you back to my friend Sydney in South Africa, and he'll let us know what is his latest in his world.
So these lions, I have picked up some tracks here, and it looks like they are deep in this block here, and this is the area where I am hoping to find them at any time from now. The weather at the moment is nice and cool, and when the weather is nice and cool like this, the animals such as lions, they start to move around. But when the sun is hot, is when they relax for long hours. The animals I'm looking for, lions, can sleep up to 18 hours a day. So I have to be very careful and look everywhere here under these bushes. Maybe we are going to be lucky somewhere here. No sign here, as we are now in the middle of the bush where the animals can easily walk in between these grasses here. So not easy to see their tracks. Yeah, I cannot see anything yet, but that does not mean these lions are not around here. It doesn't mean that, because they can hide nicely. Maybe they woke up to go somewhere around here for some water. Yeah, we are very, very much close at the moment, as I can also pick up some of the scent marks. I'm not sure if these scent marks were left behind by these lions or any other animals. So animals, when they're staying in the bush here, they always use the scent in order to mark, in order to advertise their presence in the area. So I have picked up a sign. Lisa and James, the precautions we take before we go out on a safari is that one, we have to remain seated at all times. Two, we are not allowed to use the flashlights against these animals, and some of them, like the elephants, can be very aggressive. Another one, we are not allowed to run in the bush. So if this vehicle have a puncture now, while I'm out, I've got to get off the car and fix it. I don't have to jump off the car and run away and try to go back because the tire is flat. So those are some of the precautions. And also, we have to dress something which is camouflaged so that it can match the surrounding while we are out here. If you look at the car, the color of my car, you can see that it's much more, it's green, and this green color don't disturb the animals. And another thing is we don't have to make noise, and we have to keep a long distance. We have to keep a distance when approaching these animals. We also have to consider wind direction. If we are doing something on foot, like a guided walk, we have to first check the wind and make sure that we are going not letting the animals knowing about our presence from the sense of smell. The purpose of these game drives and the guided walks is not to disturb the animals. It is to come and enjoy the animals and leave before the animals got disturbed. Kathy, my banana is hidden deep in the bag, and yes, some of the animals, they've got good sense of smell. I cannot dispute that animals can smell some of the fruits while in the vehicles. They can do that, so that is why I've got to make sure that they're in the bag. And if I eat the banana, I must have to also put the banana skin in the bag, because if I throw it on the ground, it's when animals are gonna eat it and start to get used to it. Every time they pick it, they pick the scent, they will come to my vehicle wanting the bananas. So now let's quickly go back to Tristan.
Well, it's important to have snack safety, as you say, Sydney. No one wants to leave any snacks lying around for unsuspecting animals to get hold of. And funny enough, actually, talking about snacks, there's not many animals out here that you have to really worry about when it comes to snacks. The only thing that sometimes could be a bit tricky is if you had oranges with elephants. Elephants love an orange for some reason, and they go into the farms on the edges of some of the nature reserves and cause lots of trouble, particularly with oranges. But you'd have to have quite a few of them, and you'd have to have quite a hungry elephant in order to have an issue with oranges. But otherwise, most things are okay. We've had many different kind of fruits and things. David, who's on camera today, is the king of snacks and has always got a little assortment of nuts and fruits and all kinds of things, and we haven't had an issue yet. Now, Emma in Final Control, no, they don't get stuck up their nose. So what happens with an elephant is that it has a kind of divide down the center of the trunk, which means that you can't really get big things inside there. So an orange is perfect just to pick it up like this and then shove it in your mouth and just eat it all in one foul sweep. So they kind of just do that, and they'll eat many oranges all at once. And there's been quite a few entertaining stories about elephants and oranges. But for the most part, you're okay out here as long as you don't throw anything out of the vehicle and As Sydney says, you have to have good snack manners, and snack manners means that nothing exits the vehicle until you get home and there's a dustbin, and then you can put everything away, like apple cores and banana skins and those kind of things. And it's important to have a healthy diet out here. In fact, actually, David, where's your little snack box? Here we go, David's little snack box. It's a little empty because he's been snacking while we've been sitting and Hukumuri's been sleeping, but here's David's little snack box. He's repurposed a little strawberry container, and let's see what's actually inside David's snack box. David, what have you got in here? Let's see. David has got 1 times green apple that is inside there. There is a nectarine that is inside there. And delicious, you say, David? Yes, delicious. There is an almond. I hope you don't mind. I'm picking up all your fruit, David. There's an almond. Oh, I have to eat that one. And then there's even a cashew, which I won't take because there's only 1 cashew there, and I don't want to take that one for David. But that's David's little snack box, and quite convenient because it even has little things that you can close it and you can put it together like this. And so I wonder if, Hukumuri would like a little snack box, particularly of the animal that David has managed to now find up in the Masai Mara. They are small, and I'm pretty sure he would love them in a little snack box.
Well, boys and girls, I told you things were getting better and better and better, because now we have the largest bird that we got almost, I think, in the whole world, called an ostrich. But above all, she got some chicks with her. Just look below her and see who is running up and down, left and right. And those are ostrich chicks. Yay! How nice! Just look at them, just weaving through the grass there. How amazing is this? I think this is one of my happiest days. One of my happiest Saturdays, and as we're beginning the year, I'm going to think I'll be very lucky for the rest of the year just to see ostrich chicks. I'm trying to count how many there are. I have counted up to 9, and Bungei, who is on camera with me, is still trying to count. He thinks 9 could be the actual number, but he thinks there were 2 that were hiding. So this one is called an ostrich, and to let you know, this particular bird does not fly. They got feathers, they got wings, but they're just too heavy to fly. And yes, in the final control stage, they're very cute because we rarely see ostrich chicks. I can't remember the last time I saw them. So you boys and girls are very lucky to see ostrich chicks just running through the grass there. I'm still holding the figure 9 or number 9 chicks. And the ostriches, I'll tell you boys and girls, when you see fully grown ones, the females are that color that you see there, grayish, brownish in color, okay? But the males or the boys are black and white in color, a slightly bit larger in size. But you see the chicks just following the mother. So ostriches will always eat. Are you going towards an elephant? Boys and girls, this is becoming very exciting. Therefore, you're talking about a state of rivalry. I am not sure it's among the ostriches. And what would happen here is ostriches will always eat flowers. They'll eat seeds on the grass. And sometimes you'll see them eating sand or pebbles to help them in digestion. So that's exactly what I guess they're looking for here. And they're eating seeds from the grass. They're eating some leaves, they're eating some flowers that they can pick on the way as they keep moving. Just see, they're not even bothered by the elephants. So elephants on one side and ostrich chicks on the other side. How cute is that? This is so lovely to see this on a Saturday. I didn't expect to see an ostriches because my plans have been to try and get you some lions. So this mother is going to raise all these chicks on her own, but sometimes we'll see the male coming to help her to raise the chicks. Keshek and M, and you're saying in the final control you have never seen this. I'm saying the best thing to do when you come to Kenya next time, we'll show you these chicks firsthand. But I'm very happy. Your year has begun very well with chicks, and Bungei tells me I think we got 11 chicks, or almost a whole dozen of these ostrich chicks. So one major difference again, because of availability of food and maybe the expanse of the Mara Triangle, makes it easier for us to have ostriches here and to see them easily, because in such an open area you can spot them from a distance. I'm trying to estimate how far they are from where we are. It could be close to about 1 kilometer. Because of a wonderful camera, we are able to catch them up, and this becomes pretty exciting to see them just walking in the grass there, and the mother is training the chicks what to do, what to feed on. One of the major challenges of ostriches here in Africa are lions. Lions apparently will hunt ostriches. Can you believe that, boys and girls? Because ostriches got very big drumsticks. Can you see the drumsticks there? And they're not covered by any feathers. So the lions know it's easy to get the meat from the ostriches. And unfortunately, M says no, but that's exactly how it is here. If you'd come here a few months ago, boys and girls, this area was filled by so many antelopes that we call wildebeest and zebras. Now, all of them have gone to another country called Tanzania, south of Kenya. Now, lions will hunt anything. Ostriches, baby buffaloes and baby giraffes. And I'll let you know that there's a leopard in South Africa, and leopards also, once in a while, they'll always come and sneak on these ostrich chicks.
Indeed, I would imagine that Hukumuri would love a little ostrich as a snack. It would be like going and getting a bucket of KFC, I think, for him. And given that his name has chicken in it, a huku, so Hukumuri means chicken. Basically, huku means chicken, and so maybe that's why he would like an ostrich. I don't know. Either way, he's going vegetarian at the moment. He's busy kind of eating little bits of grass that are down on the ground. They do this quite regularly, so you'll find big predators like lion and leopard will actually try and kind of feed off grass every now and then. It just helps to clean out their digestive system a little bit. Makes them often get rid of things that they're battling to digest, so things like hair and bone. But you can see he's up and moving, and his tummy is quite thin, so he is looking as though he does need a good meal. And he's going to go to the toilet and do a little bit of a scent mark. So that's him marking his territory, showing everybody, I am the dominant male in this area. So we're going to have to try and keep up with him. It's going to be very tricky where he's going. He's going into a horrible spot. But luckily, I know a little shortcut through here, so we should be okay to keep up with him, which will be good. But he is going to head into a really tricky area, so we'll try and just kind of see him for the last little bit, because unfortunately it's getting to that time of the day where we're going to have to say goodbye to all of you that have joined us for our kids show today. But we still hopefully get a view of our leopard for a little bit longer before that happens. Now you can see he's stopped all of a sudden. I wonder if he hasn't spotted something that he maybe is interested in eating. He's got his nose to the ground and kind of sniffing along, and often they will actually sniff out prey items, particularly things like duiker and steenbok, that are territorial in areas. So I wonder what kind of food he's basically looking for. Anyway, like I said, unfortunately it is that time though of the day where we need to say goodbye to all of you that have joined us for the kids show. I hope that you had a wonderful Saturday afternoon with us here in Africa, and I hope that we will see you again next week at the same time in the same place, and we'll see if Hukumuri maybe found a meal. Until then, goodbye from us all. Good afternoon, and welcome all of you that have just joined us for our regular sunset safari this Saturday afternoon. My name is Tristan, and I've got David on camera, and we're coming to you live from South Africa and Kenya. which means that we would love to hear from all of you. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat. Should you want to ask any questions or have any comments, and you can do so, just remember that you will have to look at what's on the screen and ask questions about what you're seeing to keep it relevant, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. Good. Now that that's all out the way, it is very good. Those of you that have just joined us, we are with Hukumuri at the moment. He's just woken up. He's been sleeping for the last hour and is having a good nap, and now he's decided to wake up and is doing a lot of scent marking at this stage. So you can see his tail's up in the air. He's busy spraying a little bit, and thankfully for us, he's decided the area that he's going to now cross through this drainage line is an area that we can at least cross as well. It gets a bit hairy in here and it's very difficult to follow, and this reminds me of actually the first sighting we ever had of Hukumuri was in a rehearsal drive for a TV show that we did was it Big Cat Week? It was Big Cat Week, hey David? And this was the exact spot where he was first seen by David and Scott on foot on this termite mound here, and then he ran this side and we got him with the vehicle for a little bit. So it's quite a cool little story that he's managed to kind of come sort of back to exactly where it is, and that this is the first place that I see him back from kind of a few months away from Djuma. Now I've got to try and get through here, which is going to be a bit tricky. So we're just going to have to kind of, unfortunately, push our way through and kind of use our bull bar a little bit. And while I do that, let's send you across to Sydney so he can say hello to all of you.
A very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the show. This is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this afternoon. We are going to try by all means and get you see a lot of interesting animals. And for in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, hashtag Safari Live. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan this afternoon is the best. I'm looking for the two different mating pairs, the lions. I know they have been spotted in this area this morning, but it seems difficult for me to find them this afternoon. I'm going to try my best here. So these lions, they were right here this morning, and now they got disappeared. It was the two males, each one of them having its own partner. There was a lot of competition going on here. So somewhere here is where they have been spotted. Senzo, I'm trying to check there now. Oh, Senzo, they want to see the color of your socks. So it's not appearing. So you can see that Senzo has changed. He's a changed man. In 2019, he doesn't wear socks anymore. So New Year has changed everything. So now while I'm entering the blog to see if I can find these mating pairs, let's cross over to the Masai Mara where David can't wait to greet you this afternoon.
Very good. Welcome our regular viewers, and we just had some wonderful kids show, and now we're doing big people, and we got a reptile here, which I think this is a marsh terrapin. I haven't seen terrapins for quite some time, and just look what a strategic place she has placed herself to warm up, and she got her head pulled up to get as much heat as she can, because we know all reptiles are cold-blooded, and she is getting the best of the heat of the day. Before dry she goes in. Pew! I think she did not know we were here until now, but at least we had a couple of seconds to see her. And that was a marsh terrapin. Very nice to have all of you on board, and exactly welcome. My name is David, and on camera with me is Bungei. Very good, Bungei, all good. And my plans today is to look for lions after having been entertained by that marsh terrapin, and I am going to the Sausage Republic. I was here this morning, I did not see them. And either they were too sleepy or it was too cold, they did not come out. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to see them today. Now, the sausages are 5 females, and 2 females, I am following them very closely. Well, yeah, you like the dive of that terrapin, because as soon as we got there, either she was snoozing and she did not know we were there, and as soon as she realized we were there, phew, that was a good dive, you know. Anyhow, so the 2 particular females I'm following in this particular pride because they are pregnant, and for those of you who have been following us, you know, one of them is Kingtail, but the other one, I have a feeling by now she has dropped her young ones. Kingtail, I saw her 2 days ago, not today, yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, and she still looked fine. And we did a poll the other day, and we're asking the viewers, you know, how many cubs do you think she's gonna drop, because she looked so big, her belly was very big. And many people thought or said 3, and I also agreed with many people with a number of 3. But the other one to me looks bigger, so we're gonna be finding out what is happening there today. All right, beautiful weather we got. And we're coming through some herd of buffaloes. Right, as we head towards my lion sausages, if I'm lucky to see them, we'll take you back to South Africa to my friend Tristan.
Well, indeed, you are back with me, and you can see Hukumuri has very kindly come out of this horrible stuff on my right, which doesn't look very pleasant, which we just had to drive through, and now onto a road, which is very, very pleasant indeed. And so if you're wondering where Hukumuri is, because I know a lot of you often think about where he is in relation to Osana and Tingana and the likes. So we're currently moving north on Shabamu Road. That's where we're heading at the moment. Oh, and we're going to smell popcorn. My favorite smell when we drive around here is when you smell the popcorn of a leopard as it kind of has just scent marked, except now he's going to cry. Hukumuri, did you do that just because I said that it was nice of you to come on the road? Yes. He's such a different looking cat compared to our kind of regular sort of cats, if we can call it that. He doesn't look the same. He's got... Oh, he's trying to hunt a steenbok that just ran away in disgust at his presence. It kind of bounced through that thicket, and here he is here. I just heard like a snort come out of that steenbok, which you don't often hear from steenbok, actually. You normally don't hear much from them. They kind of are quite quiet creatures a lot of the time, and so interesting to be able to kind of pick that up. But very, very cool to see him. And like I say, he's an odd-looking character. He's got very kind of high waist, long legs, and obviously this long tongue that he has. And he's a wild-eyed creature. So we often joke that there maybe was a bit of inbreeding when it came to Hukumuri. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's the case at all. I quite like him. I have a soft spot for him. Always have. Kathy, they often do, yes. Not always the exact same, but very similar routes they will take. So Hukumuri has done this route many, many times. The way we followed him now, like I said, the first time we ever saw him is the exact same route that he's walking now, basically. He was just so much more shy at that time that he didn't really allow us to get a great view of him. Whereas now, you know, he's become a lot more relaxed. So they do walk on very similar routes. Sometimes it'll change a little bit, and they'll tend to mark a lot in quite similar places to where they've marked before. Oh, just careful there, David. That's a stick that we don't want to hit David in his dimple, because that will not go well. I'll be in trouble if I hit David in his dimple, and a lot of you will be very upset if I damage David's dimples. Right. Where are you going, Hukumuri? A lot of you, I believe, are very emotional about the fact that I said that he looks a bit inbred, apparently, and that you like how he looks. I also like how he looks. I didn't say there's anything wrong with it. I think it makes him look really kind of menacing as a leopard. I think it's very cool that he looks the way he does. I'm not backtracking at all, Emma. I'm merely stating the facts here. He has an abnormally long tongue. He's got oddly shaped back legs, and, you know, he's a bit of a different character, if we're honest about these things. He it makes me laugh because whenever you see him, sometimes he's either got this menacing stare about him where he looks as though he's been drinking coffee all day long and he's kind of like wide-eyed and staring at you, or he's looking as dopey as anything with his kind of eyes half closed and his tongue hanging out. So he's an intriguing looking cat, that's for sure. Right, where is he? Yeah, there he is. I do make a valid point, Emma. Don't judge me because I say that he looks a certain way. It's my opinion, I suppose. I suppose it's not very nice to say that he looks inbred, does it? Exactly, he was born that way. He could be a Maybelline advert. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe is it Maybelline? Is it, David? I think it's something like that. I just remember there used to be this little sort of chime. There we go. Thanks, Emma. Always can rely on a girl to tell you what's happening with makeup and things like that. But exactly, he was born with it, and his story is quite an incredible one. I mean, we say this a lot about a lot of our leopards, but in particular with him, I think it's a pretty cool thing that he's traveled this incredible amount of distance to get to where we are, crossed how many different male leopard territories. I mean, you must remember where he comes from is a dense area with leopard. There's a lot of leopards in that area, and on top of that area, then when he traveled north, he would eventually have had to gone over the Sabi River, where there is also a huge density of leopard in that area, and then all the way through into the Timavati and the Sabi Sand. So, I mean, the fact that he's gotten to this point and gotten where he is pretty incredible and pretty kind of indicative of the ability for leopards to survive and be seriously resilient cats. So he's an incredible animal in that respect, and for me to have survived that, especially given that he is not a monster cat like an Anderson or something like that. He's a smaller male, and so that traveling is probably because he had to eke out an existence for a much longer period than he probably would have wanted to, because he just couldn't challenge physically in comparison to maybe some of the other bigger males that were holding prime territories in all these areas that he had to cross. And so it's an interesting kind of story, and I'm quite glad he's around. I think he's added a very interesting sort of mix to what goes on out here. Now, talking about male leopards and distribution, I know a lot of you often ask me about Tamba and where he is and what his story is and what's going on, and do I have any updates with it. And I'm afraid the news with Tamba, while it's not bad, so before you all panic, don't worry, he's fine. It's not good from our point of view. He's now being seen in the last 3 days all the way down at Ulasaba, so he's very close to Ulasaba camp, which is even further away from Djuma than what he was before. So he's just constantly moving southwest away from kind of where we are, and I'm sure it's because he's being pushed by a lot of different males, and it does worry me that he's in the western side of this area, because I'll tell you why shortly. That western area has got a male called the Ravenscourt male, and lately the Ravenscourt male has been on a mission. He has not been very happy with all other males around. He's been fighting with every single other male in that area, and apparently he's been kind of on a bit of a, what would the word be for it, he's been on a sort of rampage. And the guys were saying to me today that they're a bit worried about poor little Tamba, because he's going to get himself into an area where he's going to get himself into a bit of trouble. So he's going to have to be very, very careful in that section. But apparently he's looking absolutely wonderful. He was hunting impalas this morning and he almost grabbed one. Apparently he was very, very close, and he's looking healthy. He doesn't look skinny at all. So that's always good news from kind of a Tamba point of view. I absolutely love when I can get updates about him. It's one of the cats that I probably miss the most out of all of the cats that we see here or used to see here. He's such a kind of special, I don't know why I liked him so much, but I think it was just bonded over a lot of kind of hours with him. I mean, Hosana is also like that. I know if Hosana left I would be very bleak about it, but he's unfortunately just a close second behind Tamba at the moment. Now, I believe a lot of you are agreeing that you also miss Tamba. I know it's sad that he's not with us, but there was no way he would have been able to stay with Hosana, Quarantine, Hukamuri, Tingana. One of them had to go at some point. So, the fact that Hosana is still here is pretty crazy to think about it. Good. Right, after Hukamuri we go. In the meantime, back across to Sydney. He's still looking for those lions. I hope they don't give him the slip, but I'm sure he'll find them eventually.
Yeah, these lions, they just got disappeared according to the tracks here in this block. and I'm trying to check everywhere. Maybe they are heading much more towards the direction of the Buffalo's Hook Dam. So I'm going to have to now focus much more towards the western side. Maybe I will find them somewhere around here. Cats, the urine of these animals, why they get kind of different smells is because of some of the gland. There is glands which are inside the sheath which covers the copulatory organ of these animals. Also on females, there is a gland which is called a clitoral gland. So these animals, when they are urinating, the urine is associated with this kind of scent in order to communicate. So these animals, each one of them has got its own kind of a scent, because that is how they are able to identify each other. For individual identity, they smell the urine and they will know. It means the gland each animal has got its own specific scent associated with that animal. Yes, the leopards, they've got a different kind of scent, and lions is a different sense. Also hyenas is a different sense. All these animals are using the same method to demarcate their territories. So now let's quickly cross over to David, who's got some vultures.
Well, good luck, Sydney. And I have not seen lions, but I have seen something that might lead me to lions. And I've seen that beautiful tree that has been, got like flowers of vultures and making that thorn tree look so beautiful. It's not normal to have so many vultures on top of a tree if definitely there's no kill nearby. Now, the only challenge is that tree is on the other side on what we call a laga, where I need to do a very big loop to get there. And I was just using my far lookers, and I saw so many vultures on top of that tree, which might translate to some kill somewhere. And of course, if there's a kill somewhere, most likely the killers are not very far. And if they're there, there's only one possible candidate, that will be the sausages. Well, most of those are what we call African white-backed vultures, as much as they're far. And I'm looking on any of those trees there. They could be lying under like that huge fig tree there, and most likely they must have been killed before. Let's go to Hukumuri as a getaway to get close to those vultures and go and explore that area.
Well, as you can see, Hukumuri's entire body language has changed all of a sudden. He's gone from sort of moving slowly and scent marking and ambling along to a very focused, very sort of kind of keen look about him. I don't know what he's stalking at the moment. He's just slowly going forward. I can't see anything myself. Unfortunately, I've got this tree right here, so now I want to just try and see if I can quickly... He's kind of broken his stalk now and his scent marking, so whatever it is must have moved off. I don't know what it was that he was kind of looking at. So you see, he's now kind of changed his gait completely, so I don't know if he maybe thought he saw something and then got closer and realized, hang on, that's not actually what I was looking for, or if it was potentially, I don't know, maybe it ran away. Maybe it was something like a little steenbok that saw him and bolted, or something like that. It does happen. There's that popcorn smell again. So, Lauren, why they twitch their tail when they're concentrating is probably kind of comes through when they are younger, so it's probably a visual cue that they learn from their mothers. Their mothers, I would think, I mean, this is just a theory, I don't know this for sure, and this is what my opinion is that when these guys are busy stalking, or when the females are stalking and they're cubs, that little tail twitch will basically tell the cub listen, I'm busy now, you need to stay still so that I can get into my work and be able to hunt or to try and focus and concentrate on something. And it kind of is a visual cue to the cub to behave itself, if that's the right word. I mean, it might also just be complete coincidence and it just kind of happens, but that would be my kind of take on it, is that there's this kind of cue that is given, and so when the cubs are small, they learn it from their mother, and it's irrespective of if they're male or female. The trait is still kind of inherited by the fact that they watch. Now, is there something there that he's watching now? He's looking off again into the distance, so it's a bit tricky. He's behind a few little twigs and stuff. I'm surprised he's moving. It's still very humid at the moment. The sun is gone. It's gotten quite kind of clammy, and you can see he's breathing quite fast and mouth is open as though he's almost panting a little bit, and I'm not surprised because it must be quite warm for him as he kind of moves around through here, particularly if he's sort of stalking and trotting along and the various other things that he ends up doing. The only problem is he's moving a lot faster than I would like him to move, because we are supposed to be doing a rehearsal this evening, and he looks as though he's going to be, if he keeps this pace up, gone long before that even starts. He's going to go back into the west. Oh, you silly cat. Are you knocking off bark onto your own head? That was very awkward. That was not very cool. It wasn't the coolness of a big dominant male leopard, that's for sure. Right, David, we're going to have to reverse a little bit, I think. Actually, no, wait, we've got a nice path going forward here. It's a very difficult area to negotiate again. Right, now, we've got a leopard, and leopards like to climb trees from time to time and go up into trees. And it sounds like David has found something that is in a tree. I just don't know what it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have gotten my ultimate prize for this year because, as I said earlier, I was already in the Sausage Republic, and one of the sausages is on top of that thorn tree. Well, you might wonder why we call them the sausages. Now, this particular pride have been known to love to climb trees, and in particular, a tree that is called a sausage. Sausage tree is very different from this one, but today they are not doing that, climbing a different tree. So what I've got to do, I'll stop here and continue with Bungei. Bungei is the gentleman who is on the camera with me today, and for you to see why we named them sausages. They're very good in climbing trees. A few reasons that will make them climb trees. The grass is getting a little high. We have been having massive rains here in the Mara Triangle, which just stopped, and because the rains sometimes come with... Miss Parker, how are you today? And always a treat to see lions on tree. Thank you very much, Miss Parker. That's a great comment. And remember, everybody else, all our nice viewers, should you have any comments or questions, send them through using hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And this pride of lions is called the Sausage Tree Pride. Now, I was saying earlier, they're on different tree now, and because of the rains that have been going on, the rains come with flies, for example, and these flies become an irritant, or they irritate these lions, and that's why they tend to go up the trees. Occasionally they also go up the trees to get some shade, but not the case now because it's not as warm, and that's one member of the Sausage Tree Pride. So what I'll do now, I'll try to go a little close. I didn't want to go close as yet. And Maria, very good. And you're saying you didn't know lions climb trees. Lions climb trees not once, not twice. But Maria, the difference is they're climbing, I would say they are not as good as leopards when it comes to climbing trees. But I think we're going to be doing lots of lions today because Sydney, here, he got more lions in Juma.
I am having them now here. I managed to win the battle. Here you can see, here are they. I have got the couple here, and the other couple is not here. I don't know where they are. I just got them now. You can see the male is just hiding behind the bushes. And I saw that this male is that very shy male, the one with the beautiful eyes we saw a few days ago when they were just resting avokas in the thick bushes after the Mvubu Road. So that male is now having a partner. This is not the male we saw mating yesterday morning. This is another one. So the one we saw yesterday mating, he's got his own girlfriend and they are following each other. So we've got now a couple which is now mating. This is quite a beautiful sighting. Oh no, this is the couple I saw yesterday. Now I can see that smiley on the side of the male there. You can see there. I can see from that smiley, I can tell this is the one I saw yesterday morning. The one with the beautiful eyes is the one who is not here at the moment, but is also committed with a mate as they've been spotted this morning. So I can see the smiley on the face of that beautiful black-maned male. He looks very much tired. Thank you very, very much, Linda. I'm so very happy that I managed to find them because it was difficult to find their tracks. So now let's quickly cross over to Tristan with Hukumuri on the move.
Well, good. Well done, Sydney. Good to find those lions in rather dense, thick bush. I know exactly where, Sydney, you've been tracking them, so it's not very pleasant in there. It's where Thandi and Kalamba have spent a lot of time, and unfortunately, this area is not very nice either. So both of us, unfortunately, are being dragged through the thickets a little bit by, well, I suppose he's now stationary. Luckily for him, we're still being dragged quite quickly through the various thickets by Hukumuri at this stage. So hopefully he's going to eventually start to settle down. Now, the tricky part about where we're driving is not so much actually the bush itself, it's more the aardvark burrows that have been put in place here. There's many an aardvark burrow, which makes life intriguing, to say the least. And luckily the bush is not yet too thick, so you can see most of them, but it's going to get that way soon. Once the grass gets long, it gets very, very difficult to be able to follow them. Exactly, it is the opposite of whack-a-mole. Except I feel like we're the mole that's being whacked. Right, we're on Rebecca's road now. Are we on Rebecca's? No, we are. We're on Zoe's already. Real. Okay, so we've come a long way to the west. I thought we were heading more north, but luckily it's not very good news though. He's going to unfortunately cross over fairly quickly then, because he's heading straight westwards, which I was hoping he was going to head more north, but he's going to now cross over Zoe's, and once he's over Zoe's, that's the end of that, I'm afraid. It's going to be very, very tricky for us to be able to kind of follow him much beyond that. And also the problem is that he ends up then crossing into Arathusa very quickly. So it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but I suppose we've had a good afternoon with him. He is making the decision. Go north. Go north. No, he's not going north, is he? But his tongue's hanging out. It's typical Hukumuri, isn't it? Orange eyes and hanging tongue. Are you going to yawn for us, boy? Come and lie down now for a bit. Well, at least he's coming to say hello. I mean, he's literally, at the moment, about 2 meters in front of us, which is very pleasant, as you can see there. Hello, Hukumuri. Very cool when they do this. I love it when leopards walk past. There's nothing better in the world than when you get a leopard kind of ambling within 2 meters of your car. I mean, there's something very, very, very special about it, and the kind of the beauty that you get to see when they're as up close as that is very cool. You can get to see like almost all the little fine hairs that run through the spots. It's a special kind of experience to be that close, and you can actually see all the details in the whiskers and various other things. So I'm really hoping that he's going to go to have a little nap soon, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like he's more in kind of hunting mode than anything else, and that's going to drag him far further to the west. Right. Now, Hukumuri is not lounging about. He's not taking it easy in his moving. But it sounds like David's lion has gotten itself into a rather precarious situation in a thorn tree, and, well, it's still stationary up in the tree.
Well, it's such a great afternoon to have seen Hosanna, I guess, earlier, and Hukumuri, and now the Sausage Pride. How fantastic. Now, this member of the Sausage Pride is the one I was talking about, and you can see how she is breathing, or let's see how she's panting. Now, look at how precarious she has positioned herself there. I will not be able to explain how, in the condition she is in, she has taken that position. One, I think she's trying to get her belly as comfortable as possible, because that belly is very swollen, and not only is she having a few pounds of flesh in it, she got some cubs in her belly. Now, in this pride, there are 5 females, and 2 of them are pregnant. We haven't given a name to this one, and the other female that's pregnant is called Kingtail, which is hiding somewhere lying on the grass. But this is the one I have always expected to have popped her cubs much earlier than Kingtail. And today I'm gonna request for a poll to all of you. From what you see there, let's estimate how many cubs. Let's just have an idea you think this female is carrying in her belly. The other day, excuse me, we did a poll with Kingtail, and the viewers, I gave between 1 and 3, and asked the viewers to tell me what they think, how many cubs do they think are in that belly, and 55% said 3. Now I'm going to show you this belly again of this particular one female of the Sausage Tree Pride, and you tell me how many cubs do you think she would be having in her belly. Questions, comments, please send them through #Safari Live on Twitter. We like hearing from you. We are very interactive, and that way makes our drive very exciting. Now, the other 3 girls of the Sausage Pride are lying somewhere on the grass there. Daniel, that is very exciting, and you think gravity might help. Because Daniel, I had very wrong predictions for the last 3 weeks, and every time I've been giving that female 3 days, 2 days, 1 day to have dropped her young ones, and I'm surprised every time I come, she is still pregnant as she has been for the last, I don't know how long. Daniel, they take 3 months or so to drop their young ones, and I guess maybe she just looked big, and I thought, I didn't know when she mated, and I thought it was time. Well, on top of her, there's a vulture there. Can you see that vulture there? And that is a hooded vulture. And you remember earlier, I was showing you some vultures on top of a tree, and I said chances are those vultures are waiting for some mate somewhere, and there must be a kill. And if the killers could be around, it's only the sausages that would be here. Kathy, this is so gorgeous, and you're very right. Many people think lions do not climb trees. They do, and this particular pride, because they know it very well, they're very good in climbing trees. And you want to calm down. See how she's going to calm down. And like a leopard, a little jump. Excellent. Now look at that belly. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me, how many cubs do you think are in that belly? I do not know. I do not want to encourage anybody or to influence any tweet. #Safari Life between 1, 2, and 3. How many cubs, as she is going to have a wee break there, you think she's carrying? For those of you who could be joining us now, we're in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and this pride is called the Sausage Tree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got a feedback from M in the final control, and she says 54% think she's carrying 4 cubs. So much, one more than what we had with Kingtail the other day. And Kingtail could be the one lying down there. Kingtail, no, that's not Kingtail. Kingtail is on the further right. And I think that's the one with her legs up there. So all the 5 girls of the Sausage Tree Pride are here. And they should just be giving us news. And Taz, you'd like to know whether lions do normally climb trees. Normally they do not. They don't have the good climbing abilities like leopards. They normally don't. But for one reason or another, they will. For example, if they want to go and get some vantage point to look around to spot for prey, they will do that. Again, as I said, should they feel irritated by flies in the grass, why not? They'll go up the trees to run away from the flies. Number 3, should they want some nice shade or going on top of the tree which have very good or huge leaves, they'll always do that. So not that they do not climb trees, they do once in a while, but generally they do not. This is one pride I respect, this is one pride I love. I love all of them, but this pride must have brought down something here. I do not know what they killed, but I'll be finding out what they might have killed, and maybe we'll be letting you know. I saw so many vultures on top of a thorn tree, and definitely there could be a kill somewhere here. That's what I want to investigate. My lions, rather active, going up tree, coming down. I think Sydney's a little bit flat. Is that true, Sydney?
So you can see that my lions are very much flat. At least David's lions were up in the tree. So here, these lions, I'm not surprised because they have got a huge responsibility. These lions, they are mating at the moment, and they've got to mate about 4 times an hour approximately, and for 7 to more than 7 days. So you can see that is quite a responsibility. And I saw they ate yesterday morning. They were lucky because the female went on ostrich and they had something to eat. This male we are seeing here, he met this female yesterday during the early mornings, because I was with them yesterday in the morning, somewhere in the late afternoon, somewhere after the Mvubu area. And this, not yesterday, a day before yesterday, I was with them before they met. And it's good that they started mating after eating, because sometimes lions, they can go very thin because of mating consecutively without having a diet. So you can see that the main bone crusher, we have to appreciate what these lions are doing, because that is where now we are going to have more lions. And it's always nice to see the babies. Although I know lion babies are so very much vulnerable. When the lion babies are still young, other males can come and fight and kill the babies. Apart from that, some of the records stated clear that the lions, when they're still young, they are vulnerable of other predators, such as the wild dogs. So now, let's quickly cross over to Tristan and see Hukumuri again.
Indeed, the new generation. It would be so nice to have, I was saying it this morning, it would be so nice to have little fluffy lion cubs once again. Hukumuri is still kind of moving about and still steadily in a westerly direction, unfortunately. He's looking for food, though. You can see it. He's trying his hardest to spot things, and he's going to all the termite mounds in the hope that there's little warthogs around, maybe not even little ones. That's kind of what he's looking for. Every now and then he stops and kind of watches maybe a little duiker or a steenbok running away, but for the most part, warthogs is what he's actually after. And so, I'm hoping that he'll spot some at some point, because maybe it'll just slow him down a little bit, and that he'll stay with us for a little longer this afternoon. But good news is now he's turned north quite heavily, so in fact almost northeast now, which is cool. So we're just going to kind of slowly sort of run parallel with him. Yes, Emma, we had a stern talking to him. Not that he listens. He's a bit of a rebel, is Hukumuri. He just does what he wants. Now, we had a conversation once when I was in the Mara, and Jamie was driving, and we were talking about what kind of ice creams leopards would like. And I don't think we ever did what Hukumuri would like in terms of ice cream. I'm not sure what his kind of ice cream flavor would be, but he would probably have something that's quite rebellious, I would imagine, and only for tough guys. What is a tough guy flavor? No, Emma. He's not a lemon gelato type of person. That's not how Hukumuri rolls. He's something crazy. That's what he likes. No, Rocky Road. Who did we say Rocky Road would like Rocky Road? I think we said Hosana would eat Rocky Road, or Tingana. I think one of those two. No, rum and raisin was what we said for Tingana. Bubblegum? No, he's too serious for that now. Maybe something that's got a bit of extra little kick in it, with a bit of alcohol in it. Maybe that's what he would have. He would have a infused ice cream. You say salted caramel? Salted caramel and bacon ice cream. Is there even such a thing? I don't even know. I'm sure I've heard of something like that before. I think there is such a thing as salted ice cream and bacon, but I don't know if it's actually a pistachio. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's exotic enough for the wild-eyed fella. Maybe something else would be... I'm trying to think of all the different things that I've seen. I think he would be like one of those guys that goes to a crazy ice cream place that does all these experimental ice creams. That's what I think he would go after. And he would like to kind of have all these crazy flavors that they produce. But I reckon bacon and sweet and salted caramel would be his spicy jalapeno ice cream. It seems to defeat the object slightly, doesn't it? What would you eat once you've eaten that if it's too spicy? Then you've got a bit of a problem, because you're not going to be able to eat ice cream to cool you down. You're going to have to just sweat it out. Yeah, exactly. So that's how hardcore he is that he doesn't even care. He'll just eat something that's got so much spice that it defeats the purpose of ice cream. I agree with that. I think that's a fair call. Right. Where's he gone? Oh, there he is. He's gone towards the termite mount. Emma, are you being drowned with ice cream flavors? Is it making you hungry? I'm pretty sure, given the heat that we've had today, that some of our staff will be hungry thinking about all these different ice cream flavors. Emma, have you ever had gin and tonic ice cream? Because I have. It's actually very nice. Emma's always got excellent ideas about gin and tonic. It is very nice. I had a friend of mine who used to be a chef at one of the lodges I worked at, and he loved to make gin and tonic. It's actually a sorbet more than an ice cream. It was very good, and he used to make that and a tequila sunrise and a mojito sorbet, and he used to do these kind of drink stops where the guests would come through and then would stop in the bush, and they would have these kind of sorbets. Obviously, us as guides were not allowed to have, because there was alcohol content, and that would be naughty, and we never drink alcohol, ever. And so it was just the guests that used to kind of go after it. Now his tail is twitching. What have you seen, Hukumuri? Have you finally spotted what you've been looking for, boy? No, still plodding along as though he can move with effortless ease. He's not exactly stalking. It's so strange. Some of the times he's been stalking and he's been kind of almost looking like he's going to pounce, and then he just stops and just kind of looks and stares and then starts walking. So I don't know what he's seeing. Maybe he sees francolins or something. I don't know. It's tricky to know exactly what he's after. But I would imagine warthogs would be his kind of prime target, given the way he's walking and looking at every mound as he goes. Okay, well, keep up with him. We'll negotiate another delightful block that we're in, and while we do that, back to Sydney, who's also in a delightful block of his own with the Nkume and Vokamel.
So the lions are still now on bed, and don't get surprised, I will be having some other Viakas coming to join me by this sighting. Hopefully these lions are going to maybe show us some actions. The only action they're going to show us is mating. I don't think they will be interested in any of the hunting, as now they are busy trying to breed. So the female has been lying down there. Since we have arrived, she's been just like that, and that male has been at the same spot. So maybe they are now just tired a little bit. They will carry on doing what they are here for, which is mating, as I indicated. So you can see the male is starting to become active. You can see he's moving the head a little bit. So now it's getting much cooler. I can see the sky is getting overcast at the moment, and this kind of skies, this kind of clouds, these are the clouds which normally encourage these kind of animals in order to move around. You can see there. So at the moment, look at the male. You see, he's up now. Let's see. Maybe he's going to show us some actions. Look at that. When talking about the skies and everything, this is fascinating him. You can see he's looking at the female at the moment. Look at that smiley I use the most in order to distinguish between this male and the other Avoca males. So let's see what he is thinking. Normally, the female is the one, when interested in mating, who is coming to him and start him. And when he comes back, that is when they're going to mate. I can see she's waving the tail. Maybe she will be interested at any time. He's trying to show off his beautiful mane to convince her. Oh, the lazy male is lying down. So the mating rituals of the lions is very much interesting because they fight, growl, and they scratch each other. It's so interesting. So don't get surprised, as I indicated, there is another vehicle joining us at the moment. Gary, I did not copy your question very nicely. If you can repeat that. Gary, mating, the ritual looks very dangerous, but that is how they are. As I indicated here earlier, also yesterday, and maybe before a lot, the male copulatory organ, it is having some kind of bulbs. It has got the spikes, and these spikes are very much important. If the female don't react in that manner, the possibility for a female not to have babies, they are very high. The male must have to scratch the copulatory passage of a female in order to get ovulation to take place so that the eggs can be fused through a process called fertilization to have the little ones. So this process, for it to kickstart, it starts from here. They must have to scratch each other. So now let's quickly cross over to David. David has got the end product of the mating, what we're seeing now.
Well done, Sydney, but I'm now not doing more cuts. I'm doing what I call my golden moment. And every day when I'm lucky, I got two golden moments, one in the morning and one in the evening. And this is the sunset golden moment. I'll just keep quiet for like 10-15 seconds for all of you to digest the colors that you see there. And what a glorious sunset we have from the Mara Triangle. Well, earlier I was talking of moving to find out. Sharon, you say glorious, and it might even get glorious, Sharon, to see sunset with some feeding lion cubs. How does that look? I initially told you I saw some vultures on top of a tree, and I guessed chances are there could have been a kill not very far from where they were, and if there was a kill, and then says like buffalo tent. And why I will always respect this particular pride of lions here, for those who are watching now, or those who might have joined us now, this is the sausage tree pride. They have done things I usually think not other many lions do. How playful are those cubs there. They brought down not only a dangerous prey, but a male. And to bring down a male buffalo is not easy. And this must have been last night. It could be a bit disturbing should you feel a little bit concerned, or it could be a bit, squeamish. You may avoid to watch this. But again, this is how things go or happen out here in the wilderness. And lions have to survive. And that's why these cubs have gotten to this age. because the mothers have been hunting or trying to get food for them. So should you be a bit, squeamish, you may just switch off your screen or just maybe switch to another channel and come join us later. But this is a buffalo which I guess was brought down last night by this Sausage Tree Pride. Now there are 3 cubs in this particular pride, about 4 months and 3 months old, and of course they have the right age to be able to eat meat. Definitely you're not going to eat that bone. That's just being too ambitious and trying to show us maybe what you'll be one day. Golden Croatia, you're saying what generation we got here. Now I'm sure you know all these 3 cubs here, they're boys, and you can tell by looking under their tail. And I'm looking at some wonderful boys another 1 year, 2 years from now, which will have learnt a lot from their mothers in terms of hunting. Hello there. Look at the bellies, and oops, what a jump, eh? This is very epic, and how incredible to see cubs that are well fed being so playful. Now if you look at them carefully, 2 of them are ideally the same size and more or less the same age, and M says this is pretty awesome. I agree with you 100%, in the final control. And the other one is a little younger, and the younger one is about 3 months old. Now the one that's 3 months old, that's a little smaller, had a brother who we do not know what happened, and how playful is this mother. These are some of the golden moments, apart from my sunrises and sunsets. These are some of my golden moments here in the African wilderness. Anything 4 to 6 weeks, lion cubs are able to eat meat, but these ones now definitely have qualified to be independent meat eaters. The only thing, of course, they can do is to hunt for themselves. Excuse me, but the mothers are doing a wonderful job to make sure they are well fed. Rosemary, yes, and how exciting to see this happen, Rosemary. Great comment there. And this mother is very playful with the 3 cubs. Now, there are 5 females in this particular pride, and this is just one of them. And not sure this is Kinky, not Kinky, Limpy. Limpy is one of the females in this pride who have been limping for quite some time, but I think she is doing a lot better than a few weeks ago. How lovely. Lions are very social cats. You'll get one female just nursing, not necessarily her biological cubs, any other cub that belong to maybe a sister or a first cousin in the pride. My guess is this is Kinky. I'll be confirming to you. Once she raises up and she walks around, we can see her walking style. She limps a little bit, not Kinky, sorry, and my guess is this is Limpy. Kinky, we can tell 100%. She got a little bent tail, and you can always tell Kinky tail from a distance as she keeps flicking her tail up and down. Limpy, will you rise up for us to see you? We'll wait and see if Limpy might rise up, and you're going to know she is the one 100%. These cubs are full of energy because they're so full and not sure what Hukumuri is up to.
Our spotted cat just tried to chase a scrub hare and missed, unfortunately. Was very, very close. The scrub hare made it out alive just to the right of us. I don't know if you can see it, David. Just behind this little dead tree here is where the scrub hare is now run to. So Hukumuri tried to chase it. There it goes, bounding off now, trying to get away from where he was. That was very, very close. And out of nowhere, too. He just kind of went bounding forward, and the poor little scrub hare went from having a nice, relaxing afternoon to fearing for its life. Now, unfortunately, he's changed direction completely once again and is now heading back west. He was mobile steadily northeast towards sort of Zoe's road, but now moving a different way. I'm just listening quickly. Sounds like a male leopard's just been found on Buffelshoek Cutline. I wonder if it's not Hosana that's been found there. It'll be interesting to see who it is. It might be Tingy. I mean, Tingy was heading sort of in an easterly direction, but I mean, he came from Buffelshoek, so I would wonder if maybe that's not Hosana that's in that area, but we'll have to, unfortunately we don't have the time to get there now to go and see who it is. It's that time of the day really where we're starting to kind of finish up before we start our rehearsal, so we're just going to stay with the hook and see where he ends up and see what he gets up to for the rest of the evening. While we do that though, back to Sydney to see what's happening with the lions.
You can see the evidence that this male has been involved on a very serious fight. And yesterday morning we saw him full of blood here on the face. You can see quite a lot of scratch marks there, that he really proved his bravery before taking away this female. Oh, here comes the female now. Oh, maybe now they're gonna mate. You can see now he's coming again much closer. We might see something interesting here. You can see that he is trying to beg the female. He's even trying to lean against that female. So you can see that here we are going to see the mating. Listen to that. So you can see that the female was growling a lot as he was withdrawing his copulatory organ from here, a copulatory passage. So she doesn't have all the energy now to fight him back, but at least she did show some kind of level of aggression. You can see she's trying now to turn around, as it is painful to her when he's withdrawing. So now let's quickly cross over to the Masai Mara, where David has got some cubs.
Well, after that mating, if maybe that female has conceived and all will go well, maybe slightly over 3 months from now, we might be seeing something like this. And I'm looking at maybe March or April of this year, we might be having cubs like this from that mating that we just saw there. Well, mine are 4 months old, so we are walking back to a couple of months when, of course, these females here mated with some 2 male lions that we call the Oldonyo pike, which we think are the fathers of these cubs here. And they have just made my day. 5 females in this particular pride. For those of you who would be joining us now, this is the Sausage Tree Pride, and there are 3 youngsters here, 3 cubs, 2 4 months, 1 3 months old, 5 females, and of the 5 females, there are 2 that are very pregnant, and we think they should be giving birth. I do not want to say when, but maybe in the next couple of days. Ooh, see how playful these ones are. We might be seeing some bundles of joy, new cubs coming in the new year. And if maybe each one of them, if give them an average of 2 each, we might end up with 7 cubs. Well, Tanya, you say they're very naughty, and that is typical. And see that, Tanya? And apparently what, I'm sure, Tanya, I'm not sure whether you know, they are all boys, and you have always thought boy cubs are always more playful than girls. I'm not sure I want to say boys will be boys, possibly even for the lions. Boys will be boys, or males will be males. See the bellies, see how full they are. They must have eaten a lot. And well, ladies and gentlemen, what an afternoon, what a Saturday it has been from both Djuma in South Africa and the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Leopards there and lions with Sydney, me, lions here, and especially with cubs. I'm so full of joy. And I'll be saying on behalf of my colleagues, Sydney, Tristan, myself, and all the camera operators, we want to thank you very much and hoping to see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you and goodbye.